All right, guys, so we're back with another video. Today's video is the rich versus poor mindset. Now, as you know, we're going to start doing some finance stuff, but this isn't just finance. This isn't some dude just talking. It's actually real life advice for you guys, what to do and what not to do, how to actually get rich, how to actually control your money. Now, this video is a little bit different, and I'm trying to make some side notes here because it can get very entailed. Now, if you actually want to be truly independent, and there's many different variants here. So let's say you want to actually pay as little taxes as possible. Now, the issue is, if you know anybody that's truly rich, an actual true billionaire, or even a millionaire, you know, they don't own a lot of stuff. And they don't buy a big mansion until very late in the game. And we see this, you know, with me with YouTube revenue and stuff and other YouTubers. We see that with local people. The first thing they do when they get into money is go buy a big mansion they could barely afford. And as a lot of people say, the worst thing you could have is a paycheck, is a constant paycheck, because you get tired, you get used to that, you get spoiled. And if you're spending money going out all the time, going out drinking, going out and doing stuff, and you have money coming in, you get lazy. And some of the most aggressive entrepreneurs is people that have been hungry in life. They had to go do stuff. Some of the laziest people are people that always had everything. And we all know somebody like that. You know, if their parents spoiled them when they were a teenager, and even today, if something happens, they just go running back home. They could go borrow money from the parents, borrow money from somebody. How I grew up, that was not an option, right? If I told my parents I want $1,000 to do this, tough, wasn't going to get it. You know, I come from a lower class family, and I think that's kind of what made me so aggressive when it comes to business stuff. And I could be so much more aggressive, but you know, how far do you want to push it, right? And the difference from being an entrepreneur to self-employed is huge. Everybody thinks it's the same thing. It's not the same thing. Self-employed is what pretty much happens when you own a business. You spend all your days trying to borrow money from the bank to make a move, to buy this, to buy that. And no banks look at you with any kind of respect. If you're self-employed in today's world from a bank, you're the bottom, you're the scum of the earth. They're not going to loan you anything. And we've seen this before, you know, and it's a real assault on anybody self-employed. Now, entrepreneur is not only going to do one business, they're going to fan out. They're going to have a very liquid income to where they're not going to take a bunch of money when they get paid and go buy something stupid. They're only going to reinvest that money to make more money. And, you know, when I started YouTube 7 years ago, I was the same way. You guys saw me buying crazy cars and all this stuff, but I never once bought anything, not one single solitary thing that would not make money. When you guys on the BMW channel saw me buy the G-Wagon, oh my God, everybody squealed like hell. I'll be totally honest with you, I've profited the most money off that car purchase than any other car in my entire life. I made the most money because I bought when the market was down and I sold when it was up. That's why I bought it. So a lot of you discredit my way of thinking a lot on that kind of stuff. But I've done very well for myself in not only YouTube, but in other car-related stuff. Now, as far as branching out into real estate, it is a very tough change to do that. And like I said, I make a lot of money, but as a bank looks at you, you don't have very much credibility with them. If you're into paying 20% down on any kind of real estate or business loan, you could do that. And a lot of you guys think 20% down doesn't sound like much. I got 20% down. Until you're trying to buy anything anymore that costs $500,000 or $1 million, 20% down is pretty rough. You know, and like I said, an entrepreneur will only invest in other business ventures or only spend money to make money. There's very little that I buy here. You know, buy some new black shirts every once in a while. That's really about it. We're building our kitchen up, but it's only to better the situation, right? That's all it is. The other biggest thing is with entrepreneurs are never depressed. If you ever notice that, you guys probably know many of them in your life, or at least maybe you don't know any in your life. But if something goes wrong, an entrepreneur could just laugh it off. You guys see stuff go wrong all the time on here. Do I ever just stop and say, okay, something went wrong, I'm just giving up. It's time to give up. Give up. We'll go to the doctor, we'll get some antidepressants. No. I'd literally rather die than have to take that stuff. You know, and obviously some people need that stuff. How many people that don't need that stuff are taking it? Probably a lot. A lot. You can never let anything get you down. But that being said, you have to have some heartache to make yourself tougher. And if you have something bad happen, okay, the first time it sucks, you're like, okay, this is a bad deal. But you never once think about giving up. If you think about giving up, you know, it's the rabbit syndrome. You guys, anybody goes hunting on here, a rabbit will just give up, right? If he gets wounded, if he gets trapped, it'll just give up. Never be the rabbit. You cannot do that. Life will run you over if you do that, for sure. That's some old man advice for you. No matter what happens, what bad happens to you, it'll only make you stronger. It will never get you down. You can never let anything get you down. And your mind always needs to be going. If you're having issues where you're tired all the time, you need to take a day off, go sleep, go do whatever it is you have to do to clear your brain. If you need caffeine, stop what you're doing, go get caffeine. Don't sit around being all tired and sleepy and groggy to where you can't function. You're just fumbling through the day. I hate that. I don't have that genetic makeup to do that. I'm pretty tightly wound. If you guys probably know that by now. But if you are tired, check into, first of all, nutrition. Are you low on something? Is something wrong with you? Are you taking a medicine that's making you tired? Get it figured out. Don't just say, well, I'm going to be tired for the rest of my life and that's it. You cannot do that. That's you're wasting your life is what you're doing. And, you know, another thing is not to ever be afraid to lose. You have to make dangerous moves. Don't make stupid moves, right? You can make stupid moves, but if you have to risk something, most of the time it's worth doing it. If it blows up in your face, it blows up in your face. Never risk everything. Never put all your eggs in one basket. You probably heard that 1,000 times. Do not do that. Always try to spread out. I'm as guilty as could be. I need to spread out further, right? You can always go further. Always go more and more spread out. I've ran a fairly narrow operation until now. Now I'm heavily looking to spread out further and further. That way, if something happens, you don't ever crash out. The bad economy, everybody says, we're in a bad economy. That's fine, right? But that is a poor mindset. If you think, oh, the economy's bad, I can't do anything, I might as well just give up. You're never going to have anything. No matter what happens, you can always capitalize in a poor economy, right? The economy is never going to be poor forever. It's always going to come back up. You can't just lay around and think, oh, you know, that's it, I'm done. What can you do? How can you capitalize on that? What can you buy that's cheap right now that will go up later? If you don't have money to invest, what business ventures can you explore right now to make money in this economy? If you don't know, if you have no idea, you're like, shit, I don't know, Nathan. I have no idea. Get on the internet. Look it up. Look up. Get some ideas. Go get around people that have good ideas. You know, just the way it is. Doing nothing is your worst enemy. And, you know, back to the one that buy a house thing. We went through that nonsense. I need to buy a house. The payment's $5,000 a month. You know, I could afford that. Okay, let me tell you what. I've kind of stopped myself from doing that because I can't see two things. One, to go do that, being self-employed or entrepreneur, you need 20% down. That doesn't make any sense. I'm just not going to hand over hundreds of thousands of dollars just to have a $5,000 a month payment. That's what it would take. Now, if you could figure out a way to make that house or that business or building or whatever you want to buy work for you, a car, you can make a car work for you too. If you could figure out a way to make money from that purchase, that's fine. If you're going to go buy $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 house, what can you do? Can you rearrange that house to where you could have some kind of paying income coming from that house? Can you do some kind of wedding promotion thing, even though that's pennies? Can you do some kind of, can you set up some kind of movie promotion deal? Something where you could have somebody come in and shoot some video or do something in your house to make you some money. That's what has to be done. And also when you pitch the idea to a bank, because you'll have to get a loan for any kind of property that big or any kind of car you want to rent. Like you can't just hand over that kind of money. And if you could, you shouldn't. You know, let's say if you had $100,000 in your pocket, right? And you wanted to go buy a $90,000 car. And you think, well, if I do that, I could pay cash for it and not have to have a loan. That's a terrible idea. Because while that $90,000 is tied up, making you a little bit of revenue, if you got a loan for it, that can make you revenue. You could take your money remaining, go put 20% down on something else and fan it out, and that could be making revenue also. And you know, I've had cars before, it's like, oh, I could pay this car off, but it doesn't make any sense to. I plan on selling it one day soon. Does it make sense to give all my money away now? Or does it make sense to just cash it out when you want to sell it? It makes sense to cash it out when you want to sell it. Use the money you have at this minute to go through and invest in something else. That's what you have to do. You know, guys, there's a million ways to cut this situation. We'll talk about it some more coming up. Do not, if you work making $400 or $500 a week, most of you do not go try to buy a $300,000 or $400,000 house that's using 80% of your money. Just because the bank will loan you that money or a third-party lender will loan you that, that's a terrible idea. You're better off living in a small house and going out and seeking a business opportunity to make yourself better. If you're going to work every day, 8 hours a day, and you're making, let's say you're making $1,000 a week, that's not good enough. Just keep thinking of what's the next best thing. What's the new idea I could go through with little investment or maybe a modest investment and invest to get yourself out of having to work for somebody else. Or maybe you just want to go to that job barely 40 hours a week just to have some loaning power, just to have health insurance. But that's not your main income. You want to go do something else. You know, put your money in something else. You can invest in some kind of property, some kind of brick and mortar business or some kind of online business, right? Brick and mortar is pretty much gone out. Or light went out too. So the bottom line is, don't be a Karen. Don't be a Ken. Don't sit at home a bitch. Whenever I leave my little house here in my little town and I go try to get gas at the local gas station, go to the local store, I pull up in a Porsche or a BMW or whatever, a Mercedes, the first thing people say to me is, it must be nice. It must be nice. And my reply is, I could show you how to make money, but it's not an 8 to 5 job. Their response is, no, I can't. Basically, I can't be bothered to do that. So, well, then you can't be bothered to have money. You know, you're going to be at the same dead-end job for the rest of your life. You cannot do that. You know, 30, 40, 50 years ago, that was the way, I guess, to some degree. You graduate high school, you go to college, you try to get a degree, you get out of college, and maybe, you know, back then, maybe you can make 30, 40 grand a year. Maybe you can make 50 if you're lucky. It's kind of the same way now. You go to college, get a degree, and if you're a doctor or something, you make 50, 60 grand, 70 grand, even just 100 grand. So what? So what? You're going to go your whole life doing the bare minimum for that. I don't know. I mean, we see it every day. But that's it. If you guys like this advice, let me know in the comments. There's so many more of these videos we could do to help you guys out. so many viewers on this channel. This was my MRA channel. Thank you guys for sticking with us. We may do some videos again coming up on that to appease MRA guys left on here. But take my financial advice. Don't be a baby. Go out and get money. Go out and take it and be very happy. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day.